Welcome to First Parish in Needham, Unitarian Universalist. I am Marianne McGowan, and I'm serving as Worship Associate this morning. First Parish was founded in 1711 along with the town of Needham. We are proud to be certified as a welcoming congregation for our inclusivity of people of all sexual orientations and gender identities and expressions. As a green sanctuary for our commitment to addressing the climate crisis, and as a Level 2 sanctuary supporting congregation for our work in immigration reform and anti-deportation efforts. Whether you are a first-time visitor or a lifelong member, you can learn more about all that's happening at First Parish by going to our website, uuneedham.org, or following us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. As you know, what's happening now in the congregation is very different than usual because of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. Our building is closed, and we are gathering online only, as is recommended by health officials and local government. We plan to follow the lead of school closures to make decisions about when we will gather again in person. In the meantime, we encourage everyone to engage with one another through video and phone calls, and keep connected even as we keep our distance. Our Sunday services are pre-recorded by our wonderful staff and worship volunteers and streamed on Sunday morning, so we can all enjoy the familiar routine of spending Sundays together. Our First Parish community has become creative about how we can stay in touch and renew our spirits without meeting in person, and we hope you have been plugging into our Zoom gathering opportunities throughout the week. You are invited to our Zoom social hour directly following this worship service. Please find the link in your Saturday Bell Notes email. If you're joining us for the first time this Sunday, or you don't know what we're talking about when we refer to the Saturday Bell Notes or the emailed order of service, you can sign up to be included in those emails by going to our website, uuneedham.org, and clicking Get Involved, Newsletter, or sending your request to office@uuneedham.org. We know this way of worshiping and gathering together is an adjustment for all of us. However, our sincere hope and prayer is that these online services and connection opportunities will help us keep the physical distance required during the coronavirus pandemic without losing much of the spiritual, emotional, and social closeness we treasure in our faith community. This morning, we have a very special guest leading our worship, Chaplain Clementina Cherry. Tina Cherry is the founder and CEO of the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute in Boston, which is named to honor her son, who was shot and killed in 1994 at the age of 15. For the past 25 years, the Peace Institute has been carrying out an inspired mission of bringing dignity and compassion to devastated families and communities impacted by violence, by training police and hospital workers in how to handle such traumas, and by providing education to help counter racism and violence. Every Mother's Day, the Peace Institute sponsors a walk for peace to bring awareness to its mission, as well as much-needed funds to support its programs. For the past 5 years, our team of walkers has helped raise thousands of dollars for this cause. This year, the walk will be virtual. Please help continue our partnership by joining our team and making a pledge through the link found in your bell notes. Welcome again to all, and good morning. We light our chalice with words from the late UU minister, Reverend Betts Weinecke. May this flame, symbol of transformation since time began, fire our curiosity, strengthen our wills, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within and around us.
Come into the circle of love and justice. Come into the community of mercy, holiness, and health. Come, and you shall know peace and joy. Let's join together in our opening hymn, number 1021, in your teal hymnal, and the words will also appear on the screen. Lean on Me, number 1021.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if you have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Please join me in saying the words of our parish covenant, which can be found in your order of service. We gather as a loving community to encourage and comfort one another. We gather as a diverse community to support each other in our search for spiritual truth. We gather as a service community to live our beliefs through action and care for our world.
Hello, I'm going to tell you a story, and this story comes out of the Great Smoky Mountains. It was told by people who lived there for thousands of years. It's shared by the Cherokee and the Muskogee people. So I want to tell you this story. There is a two boys, maybe 12, maybe 13 years old, two boys. They're great friends. They're the best of friends. And they're playing with a slingshot out in the woods, and they're playing, and during the play, one boy begins with his slingshot, and his slingshot and the little pellet hits the other boy, and he hits the other boy, and the other boy is just gets reactive. He is angry, and he starts yelling at the boy with the slingshot, and the slingshot boy starts yelling back at the boy with they got hit, and they yell back and forth, and then they start really getting angry, and they call each other names, awful names like you would be sent out of the village if you told those names in front of your mother. It was the terrible names, and it was just awful. And they almost got into a fist fight. They start pushing each other. So they go back into the village, and one of the boys, he goes to his grandfather. He says, "Grandfather, I have something to share with you. I'm very troubled." And he says, "Yes, tell me the story." And he tells the story of having a fight with his friend. And he said, "He's my best friend, and I called him names I should never call any boy. They're terrible names. I don't know if he can ever forgive me." "Grandfather, what's happening? What's wrong? How could I love my good friend and call him such names, be so angry with him?" The grandfather said, Listen, I will tell you. Inside of you are two wolves. One wolf is short and loses his temper easily and snarls and gets into fights. And the other wolf is patient and forgiving and forbearing and cares enough for you to see your point of view in the fight. So those two wolves are inside you, and they're always struggling. When you're in a situation like with a slingshot situation like you just had, you have a choice. Which wolf is going to be dominant? Which wolf is going to be taking you over? He says, "Grandfather, I don't know. When I was in the situation, I just yelled and screamed and stomped up and down." He says, "Because you let the wolf that is impatient take you over. But then after the fight, the other wolf started saying, 'That was wrong. That was wrong.'" So you have both wolves that are in you. You know that this is your very, very, very best friend. Says, "Grandfather, how do I let the two wolves that are in me, how do I not let the wolf that is angry take me over? And how do I let the wolf that is patient and kind be the wolf that is..." Which wolf wins, grandfather? Which wolf wins? And the grandfather said, "The wolf that you feed, grandson. The wolf that you feed. When the other wolf wants to have attention, you feed the wolf that you want to be, the character of person you want to be as an adult. That wolf is the wolf that you feed." So think about this. Which wolf do you feed? Are you patient and do you see the other person's point of view? Or are you judging and always assuming people who are in an argument or in a controversy that they're wrong? Which wolf do you feed?
We've come to the time in our service when we share joys and concerns that are very close to our hearts and lives. In this new format, joys and sorrows are emailed to me by Thursday night, and I will share them aloud and light candles for you all. As we are making the link to our virtual Sunday services public and open to all visitors, be aware that we cannot guarantee that news shared in joys and concerns will stay within the First Parish community. So if you wish to share in a more private setting, I encourage you to reach out to me or to our Pastoral Care Associate of the Week, whose name is included in your emailed order of service. Let us now hear the joys and sorrows of our community. A candle of remembrance from Helen L., in memory of her youngest son, Dennis Munsinger, who died suddenly on April 24th, 10 years ago, at the age of 48. He was loved by all who knew him, had a wonderful sense of humor, and a very big heart. A candle of gratitude from Catherine C. During Monday's storm, a 70-foot tree crashed down onto her deck just 10 feet from where she was sitting with her daughter nearby. If the angle of the fall had been slightly different, the tree would have hit the roof right above their heads. They are grateful to be alive and grateful for the remarkable kindness and efficiency of the utility workers, electricians, and arborists who showed up to clean up the mess. A candle of joy from George and Cece G., celebrating the Burmese New Year, April 17th. They wish a happy new year for First Parish and our collective world, and a resurgence of embracing what is real and what is truly vital, equity for all humankind, and justice for our planet Earth. Deep gratitude to our First Parish staff, volunteers, and members that toil daily to bring service to our community and to the world. With humility and awe, we honor and cherish our dedicated, essential, and healthcare workers. May we all be safe and well. A candle of concern from Elise C. for her cousins Jackie, Josh, Hannah, and Gabby, who are all working in the hospitals of Boston and New York City. Elise asked for prayers that they and all the healthcare workers battling the virus continue in good health, maintain their strength, and receive the protective equipment that they need to do their jobs properly. And I light one final candle for all the joys and sorrows that are still carried quietly in our hearts. During this time of physical separation, let us not forget that we are still deeply interconnected and bound together through mutual love, support, and commitment to each other.
This congregation has been supported by the volunteer time and treasure of its members and friends since its founding in 1711. This is the time in our service when we, the modern stewards of this church, offer to give what we can to build and sustain the world we envision. This Sunday, our entire collection will be donated to the Louis G. Brown Peace Institute. Since its founding in 1994, the Institute has been a center of healing, teaching, and learning for families and communities impacted by murder, trauma, grief, and loss. Its members work to create and sustain an environment where all families can live in peace and all people are valued. To donate to today's offering, you can use our new Text to Give program. On your smartphone, put in the phone number 73256 and text the words "You Need 'Em," space, plate, space, then the $sign with the amount you'd like to give, all in one message. If you are putting in a donation for your annual pledge, please text that same phone number, 73256, with the words "You Need 'Em," pledge 20 or pledge 21, $sign, and the amount you'd like to give towards your pledge. And if you missed those instructions, you should be able to find them in yesterday's emailed order of service or on the screen in front of you. If you'd prefer to send in your contribution, please make out a check to First Parish in Needham, put April 19th collection in the memo line, and then mail your check to 23 Dedham Avenue, Needham, Massachusetts, 02492. Thank you so much for everything you were able to give to help support and sustain this congregation and the vital work of our community partners. Please take these next few moments to give what you can and know that it will be gratefully received.
The reading comes from Singing the Living Tradition, God is One. In this world, there have always been many opinions about faith and salvation. You need not think alike to love alike. There must be knowledge in faith also. Sanctified reason is the lantern of faith. Religious reform can never be all that at once, but gradually, step by step. If they offer something better, I will gladly learn. The most important spiritual function is conscious, the source of all spiritual joy and happiness. Conscience will not be quieted by anything less than truth and justice. We must accept God's truth in this lifetime. Salvation must be accomplished here on earth. God is indivisible. God is one. By Francis David, adapted by Richard Fuchs.
I invite you now to find a very comfortable way to sit at home as we enter into a moment of meditation first, followed by prayer. So I invite you just to feel your breath, notice it, take it in. And just be with your breath for a moment. Notice if there are any parts of your body that are feeling tense, and just invite them to relax if they can. You may want to roll your neck, lift your shoulders up, drop them down. Just let your body relax. And stay with the breath. And the breath is the breath of spirit. We always want to notice and honor our breath. Invite the muscles in your face to soften and relax. Your forehead to soften and relax. And then if you can invite a soft smile, a half smile to come to your lips as I invite our bell to sound 3 times. And then we'll sit quietly together, and I'll invite it to sound again. God, Goddess of many names and many genders and no gender, and whom we know most closely and intimately in our Unitarian Universalist tradition as a precious and mysterious spirit of life that moves in us and among us and between us and out into our larger world through our interdependent web of existence. We are blessed this morning to be able to come together once again in this form and know that our congregation lives beyond the brick and mortar of a church walls, that we are the congregation together as we watch and participate and help to shape and continue our lives in this new form for these days. We are grateful for the work of everyone who brings this together, and we think particularly of the staff and volunteers here of First Parish in Needham, who work so hard to hold us together in these times. We send prayers forth for all among us who are anxious, who are hurting, who are feeling isolated or sick. We hold all of us in our thoughts and prayers, as well as those points of joy and renewal that remain available even in these times. We hold closely in our thoughts and prayers our larger country, our larger community here in Needham, our larger world, and all who are suffering and experiencing losses in these times. We vow to continue to work towards a more just and equitable world where losses such as these can be mitigated. And we vow to support those in the aftermath of losses that will remain in these times. We know as Unitarian Universalists that we hold an expansive understanding of God, including the Word and its meaning to each of us, and how we translate that into the words that are most meaningful to each of us. And we hold that it is important to honor and reach across all lines of differences, all lines of understanding, so that we may move together in these times. May we work to really enact our belief in the ethics of our tradition, the principles and purposes of our tradition, and all the living tradition sources, so that we are renewed in our common ground of humanity in these times. May it always be so. Blessed be. Amen. I invite you now to remain centered in this meditation and prayer as we join together now in number 388, Dona Nobis Pacem, within the gray hymnal, if you have it at home, and the words also will appear on your screen.
Dona
Good morning. It's great to be here with you this morning. Before I begin my sermon, I really just want to share with you and invite you to try on a modality that has helped me as part of my healing journey, a tool that I was introduced to by Reverend Michelle Walsh. It's called Peace Play in Urban Setting. And it's really a space and a time where I look at the images and the miniatures that represent the world, and I'm invited to see what's calling me and how do I tell my story and how do I find strength to be still and really to begin to heal. What a privilege it is to be here with you this morning. The courage to be still, faith and stillness in the face of sorrow and fear. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. For the time we have together, I want to extend another invitation. I invite you to take my hand, hear my voice, feel my heart, and just be still with me. We grieve with those families who have lost a loved one during this time. It is an isolating time as well, because we cannot bury the dead in the way that tradition calls. We pray and hope that families find the courage to be still and grieve in the way that will honor their loved ones so that inner healing can begin to take place. Be on your guard, stand firm in faith, be of courage, and be strong. I want to start off by a reading that caught my attention as I was preparing to be here with you today. It says, as Unitarian Universalists, you affirm and promote 7 principles, which you hold as strong values and moral guides. You live out these principles within a living tradition of wisdom and spirituality, drawn from sources as diverse as science, poetry, scripture, and personal experience. As Reverend Barbara Wellston Howe explains, the principles are not dogma or doctrine, she says. They are a guide for those who choose to join and participate in Unitarian Universalist religious communities. Your principles align with the 7 principles of peace that for the past 26 years have guided my daily journey, personally, professionally, and spiritually. Love, unity, faith, hope, courage, justice, and forgiveness. In the midst of time of uncertainty, I want to connect your 7th principle, which reads, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. This connects us even closer through our shared experience of loss and sorrow. Over 26 years ago, I lived through an epidemic, the epidemic of gun violence, and I survived to tell my story, which is what leads me to be here with you today. In the time of crisis, in hopes that you too will find courage to live out your shared principles. My oldest son, Louis Brown, was a 15-year-old sophomore in the fall of 1993. Louis looked forward to college and was planning to pursue a PhD. He was an avid reader, and he was very interested in engineering. Louis often mentioned to his family and friends about his long-term goal of becoming the first Black president of the United States, and his commitment to making his community a more peaceful and just place. Alongside his peers, Louis worked to challenge the negative stereotype about youth in his neighborhood. He was deeply concerned about the ongoing violence he and his peers were experiencing, and he couldn't understand why adults were always blaming young people when bad things happen, yet took credit when good things happen. He feared that by the time he got into the White House and things didn't change, his friends would either be dead, addicted to drugs, or in jail. And he would have to run his country with the same old blood, meaning us, the adults. We say one thing, and we do something different. Louis also had a deep belief that if true peace was to happen, it would be up to his generation, regardless of which side of the streets they come from. Unfortunately, Louis was shot near his house in Dorchester, caught in a deadly crossfire while en route to a Christmas party, December of 1993. Louis was my oldest son. During that time, there were no resources in Boston for survivors of homicide victims, and my family and I left the hospital empty-handed, physically and within my soul. After we laid Louis to rest, I had to figure out how to grieve, how to live my life again, as a wife, as a mother of 2 young children. There were really, again, no resources. There were not any grief support system that were culturally relevant to me and my family. So I turned to the one place that I was familiar with, and that was my priest. I turned to my church for comfort, for guidance, and healing. I asked God, what and how do I begin to find peace? I was guided to John 14, verse 27. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give it as the world does. Do not let your heart be troubled, and do not be afraid. With that gift in hand, I knew I was equipped. The Louis D. Brown Peace Institute was founded in 1994. Through this work and through my conversation with God over time, these 7 principles of peace were revealed to me: love, unity, faith, hope, courage, justice, and forgiveness. Our mission is simple: to serve as a center of healing, teaching, and learning for families and communities impacted by murder, trauma, grief, and loss. We believe that all families deserve to be treated with dignity and compassion, regardless of the circumstances, even those that are involved in police killing. The heart of our work is with families impacted by murder on both sides. Our impact extends to the community and society through services, advocacy, and outreach. As part of my personal healing journey, I needed to know who could raise a child to kill another child. I built a relationship with Doris, the mother of Charles, the young man who was convicted of killing my son. Through that connection, I realized that families on both sides of homicide are dealing with physical, emotional, and financial stress, and that leads to instability. I worked with Doris on a plan to ensure that when her son Charles returned home from prison on parole, both of our families would have what we needed to live in peace. This was that moment in my life where I felt I was truly doing God's work. Yet, the walk was not easy. This journey that I just shared with you led me to this invitation to speak with you today, to talk about one of the principles of peace that have been critical to saving my life during this crisis: courage. It is a principle that I hope you will lean on after this service is over. Right now, we are living through a pandemic. We're afraid because we don't know what we're going to do or what is going to happen. We are scared for ourselves, our families, our livelihood. Viruses knows no boundaries. They affect us all: the rich, the poor, the black, the white, the young, and the not so young. It is also showing us the inequalities of the world in which we live. Poor communities, communities of color, immigrant communities, communities without strong health care, infrastructure are all disproportionately affected. Much of what we know before will be changed forever. In light of this moment as believers, I encourage you to join me in asking ourselves and meditating on a few key questions that can really guide us to lean on the higher power and transform these painful times into our purposes and our power, living your shared principles. The first question: how are we trusting our faith and digging into the foundation in the midst of what's happening right now, so that we do not lose ourselves in the chaos, and so that we can build an even better world? What are the moments that you talk to God? What do you say? What do you ask for? Are you asking for more strength? How do we listen to the messages that we are being told? Is it clearly sending us right now? And what and how do we respond? Are violence and structure inequality signs of the world that God wants for us? Is our collective fear and economic anxiety a sign of a higher power who wishes for love and abundance for us? I invite you to find the feelings of freedom, to tap into the moment and habits that gives you great joy, and recognize that joy is a God-given gift. In this time, perhaps FaceTime with a child, or a parent, or a sibling, or spouse, or best friend, or a coworker. Maybe you can smell the springtime flowers outside if your allergies will allow you. You can revisit a favorite book. As you connect to those God-given moments, you will find your foundation continues to be strengthened. The second question, are you being still? We live in such a busy world. Even now, we're planning on how and when to open up back the economy. Our bills must be paid. Got to do that thing on the checklist. Multiple obligations lead us to sometimes disorganized ways of living and being. The invitation continues for you to find the courage to be still, to allow yourself silence, to give yourself permission and the opportunity for answers to come to you through that silence. We can learn many things about ourselves when we give ourselves those moments. And in those silent moments, while we are quarantined and social distancing, ask yourself, what am I learning about myself? What is most important in my life right now that many things have come to a standstill? What really has value to me in these times? What is the legacy that I want to leave? What if I die tomorrow? What do I want people to know about me and how I lived? I ask you, do you want people to know that you really lived while you were on this earth and that you walk by faith? And if so, where does that draw your energy? My last question, how can you build your personal, intimate connection with God that allows you to transcend this painful time, and steer you towards your purpose? A deep connection with God is real. It can happen. It does happen. I am that living example. Yet it is not happening overnight. It is a journey, and I had to be the architect of that journey. I started that personal relationship when my son was killed and my divorce became real. God was all I had. And so in leaning on and trusting in him, I found myself at peace that I did not know before. I invite you to give yourself the chance to believe that a deeper connection with God can lead you through the other side to a more purposeful, more powerful place. When this pandemic passes, and it will, because we are people of faith, will you be a better person because you managed to build a stronger connection with God? Or will you go back to life as normal? If anything I've said this morning resonated with you, and as you saw us had the opportunity to really play in the sand, I invite you to continue to reflect on your own and share those reflections with us. My final invitation to you is, for the past 24 years, we have come together on Mother's Day to heal and to celebrate our communities through the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. This is the Peace Institute's largest fundraising event. The funds raised through this annual event makes it possible for us to deliver critical services, advocacy, and training to those in most needs, families impacted by murder. The challenges we face this year are unprecedented, and your support is needed more than ever. Through the years, we've faced a number of challenges, and nothing has stopped the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. We have walked in the cold, through torrential downpours, and even braved a nor'easter. This year, the COVID-19 outbreak offers a different challenge. Because our top priority is always to keep our walkers safe, this year, the walk will take place as a virtual walkathon in partnership with NBC 10 Boston, NECN Telemundo Boston. As the faith community, the multi-faith community, you have played an integral role in really making sure that the Peace Institute can continue to do its work. So this year, we are looking for all of our faith teams to collectively help us raise $100,000 to reach our goal of $400,000. to continue our services again of advocacy, training, and services for families and the providers in our communities. I invite you to participate this year in the virtual walkathon. It'll take place on Mother's Day from 9 a.m. till 9:45. Get this, from the comfort of your own living room or your own bedroom. You don't even have to get out of your pajamas. There will be a link to join the virtual walkathon on our webpage, mothersdaywalkforpeace.org. Please join us or share the event on your social media, or on Mother's Day, worship with us virtually as part of the virtual walkathon. Many people are looking for ways to support their communities in the midst of COVID-19. So please reach out. Reach out to your contacts, reach out to your neighbors, reach out to those who want to help and are not sure what they want to do, and help us reach our goal. Thank you, UU Needham, for your continued support to the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute. I feel like I'm a family here because this is not the first time I'm coming here. May the Lord continue to bless you and keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you, and may he grant you peace. Amen.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
For many years, the First Parish in Needham has had a team in the Mother's Day March for many years. But this year, you have a special opportunity because there are many of you who probably didn't want to march to go down to Fields Corner in the morning and march many miles in the rain. It's virtual. So think of that. You will have your opportunity to join the Mother's Day March from your couch. Wonderful, wonderful. It's a gift. Just gift. But so the First Parish in Needham is organizing a virtual team. Let's make it a big one. So I may hear my benediction. It's from Wayne Aronson, and he says, "My friends, take courage, my friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. Go in peace, go in love."
As we close our worship today, please remember to keep a careful eye out for emails from First Parish and follow us on social media so you can keep up with opportunities for connection with your faith community during these times of physical isolation. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to read your whole bell notes each week for links and opportunities to connect. When today's service ends, you are all invited to join us for our Zoom social hour, and you can find the link for that in your Saturday bell notes. Please remember, if you fall ill or need any pastoral support, to reach out to our pastoral care team and caring crew via phone or email. We also strongly encourage all of you to check in with your friends at First Parish and to double-check your own contact information in our online Realm directory. At this time, when we can only convene by phone call, email, and video chat, we want to be particularly sure that we know how to reach out to each other. I miss you all more every week. We always extinguish our chalice with words promising to carry its flame in our hearts until we are together again. And I know that I and you and all of us are deeply committed to that promise, no matter how long it is until we are together again. As we extinguish our chalice today, please join me from home in saying those words as printed in your emailed order of service, written by Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Elizabeth Selly Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.